I'm not. I'm setting up. He told me that she's not supposed to be in the camera. Yes. I was just setting up my machine. Sinabatuuka ku phantom na 14 ki plus na 14 plus kikepereza bagonje bali
yaleka watu kamera ku gundi. Moze ibali jimukuonera negwa wali kitegeera.
Ngamba kubalinda kwanga kuti
I'm going to send an emissary. Straight on my way. Your end. With clear instructions not to take over. You know these Kampala boys are sharp. They might misrepresent.
They shall hold you in contempt.
The river. I've got a new one.
Regulation 31G of the Immigration Regulations provides for special passes. Regulation 32 provides that a special pass specified in this regulation will be issued by such pass holder authority as may be specified in this regulation. Regulation 10(1)D provides that the Commissioner may issue a special pass to any person living in or arriving in Uganda by a commission that considers the issue of the pass desirable in order to fulfill a short contract of less than 3 months. The defense presented the printed copy of a pass issued to Ms. Lee and Cindy, a British national, with the passport number court searched the status of the application on the Ministry of Internal Affairs website and found that the application had been made and the document approval letter emailed to the applicant. On the Ministry of Internal Affairs website, application for a special pass is a 9-step process, where step 8 is the approval letter and step 9 is to report to the immigration office border for biometric capture with all documents uploaded, payment receipts, approval letter, and passport. The prosecution objected to the failure of the witness to have had her biometrics captured by immigration. Court takes judicial notice of the fact that visas to Uganda, which the witness also has a process to learn, and an approval is communicated in March this year. That approval alone does not guarantee entry to Uganda. The witness presented herself to an immigration official at the border and her biometrics were captured. Court notes that the passport number appearing in special pass, I did not verify whether. Let me have a look at the passport. Let's have the passport. Verified that the passport number appearing in the special pass, the same appearing in the visa. The witness biometrics have already been captured in the database of immigration under the name Lin and Ling. I note, however, that Regulation 10(1)D does not peg the validity of the special pass to biometric capture. The primary purpose of biometric capture in immigration decisions is to accurately verify the identity of the applicant, prevent fraud, and conduct thorough background checks. It ensures that individuals granted entry are who they claim to be and do not pose a threat to public safety or national security. Biometrics also help immigration authorities check the applicants against any biometrics already in the system to avoid instances where persons already appearing in the system under a different identity are admitted under a new identity. Considering that the biometrics of the witness have already been captured upon her entry to Uganda under the visa, to insist that the biometrics in respect to the special pass must first be done before she testifies would be to put technicalities before the interest of justice. In conclusion, therefore, the witness shall testify, but will be required to go and complete the biometric collection for her special pass before the next court appearance, failure of which the evidence that she will give will be expunged.
Much obliged, my lord. My lord, for the record, Ellis Karahanga. You are still under oath. And I just want us to start from where we stopped in the beginning. You testified, my memory serves me right, that you have a special pass
I do, yes.
and a visitor's visa.
Yes.
Can you just confirm to my lord whether you have now taken biometrics for your special pass?
Yes, we have.
Can you confirm to my lord if the special pass has now been stamped in your passport as well as the visitor's visa?
Yes, both are now stamped in my passport.
Just for one whether is it proper if it is reviewed by the court, just confirm that or leave it at that. Do you want to see that so that
They have, I'm sure they will ask. If they want to see, they will.
much of that? Mama Lord, I just wanted to say that the purpose is therefore of the ruling, the witness is now in compliance with your order. And also just now next I just want you to confirm if you can identify the special pass if it's shown to you, and then we shall pass it on to the court.
Yes. Yes, this is a special pass stamped in during the break.
Now, Ms. Hingli, would you tell this honorable court what qualifications you have?
I have a Bachelor of Sciences degree in Biological Sciences and have been a forensic scientist since 1997.
Let's stop there. You have a Bachelor of Science degree in?
Biological Sciences.
You have been, you said something?
A forensic scientist since 1997.
Which university did you get your degree from?
Swansea University.
In which country?
In the United Kingdom, in Wales.
Would you kindly take this court very briefly through your career, where you worked?
In 1997,
And please speak very slowly.
I joined the Forensic Science Service in London, where I was involved in profiling reference DNA profiles for the National DNA Database. In 1998, I moved across to processing samples from scenes of crime. In 2000, I became a court-going scientist. In 2003, I moved to a company, LGC Forensics.
Just tell my lord what LGC stands for.
So that is short for Laboratory of the Government Chemist. So that again was in London. I was there until 2012, where I moved to a private company.
Which year did you move to a private company?
2012.
Okay.
And in 2018, myself and colleague started Millington Hingley Limited.
All right. I just so we can have proper context, could you, again, in just a few sentences, tell this court what the state of DNA for evidential purposes was when you joined in 1997?
It was in its infancy. The laboratories had just really opened to high throughput of samples.
So that had opened to?
The processing of high throughput samples.
What are high throughput samples?
We were processing very large numbers of DNA samples. The aim was to get the entire criminal population of the United Kingdom on the National DNA Database as soon as possible. At that time, we were using a technique that looked at only 6 areas of DNA, known as SGM. In 1999, the new system SGM Plus was implemented, of which I was part of the validation team, ensuring the process was robust and reproducible results obtained.
How many new areas are you looking at in the new system?
In the new system, we looked at 10 areas of DNA.
Okay, continue.
That system was in place in the United Kingdom until 2014, when we moved to DNA 17. This looks at 16 areas of DNA, plus the sex determining test. And again, I was part of the team involved in the validation of that system.
Now, this was only in the UK. What was the state of DNA in the rest of the world? Where was the rest of the world picking their DNA knowledge from?
In the early days, 1995, the Forensic Science Service were world leaders, and other countries were using our knowledge and research to use the same technique as the United Kingdom.
Other countries were using
The same technique as the United Kingdom.
Now, there are other places that use more than 17. Explain to us the discrepancy, if any.
Lord, you have a problem with that manner of living. The other places using more than 17, not evidence arising from that.
Much obliged.
It appears counsel is justifying
Let me rephrase.
and the witness is just being invited to confirm.
Let me rephrase.
Mr. Kalman.
I'm rephrasing. Do other countries use more than 17?
Yes, they do.
Okay, and so what's the difference between 17 and more than 17?
The reason different countries choose different chemistry is all dependent on the country. Within the United Kingdom, we moved to DNA 17 as it's more discriminating, and we were able to obtain DNA profiles from very low levels of DNA. Different countries report likelihood ratios on the statistics differently. In the United Kingdom,
Can I beg your pardon, my lord, on different countries?
Different countries report likelihood ratios different.
Sorry.
so different countries report the final statistics differently, and that generally determines the technique they use.
But is there a very big difference between techniques?
The actual scientific process, the fundamental underlying science, is exactly the same for all techniques.
Ms. Hingley, apart from working in those different organizations, can you tell this court what, if any, organizations you have been involved in understanding of DNA?
So I train a number of police forces in the UK: Metropolitan Police, City of London Police,
Just on the Metropolitan Police?
yes,
Okay.
City of London Police, Kent Police, British Transport Police, Sussex Police, Hampshire Police, and the Military Police.
And There's a police force which is well known called the Scotland Yard. Do you know what if any training do you render to the Scotland Yard?
Scotland Yard is the headquarters of the Metropolitan Police.
Okay.
Leading the same way they are complaining about.
Good, I've been to the complaint.
That you're suggesting
Answer.
that you are saying things and then inviting the witness to remark. The evidence should be coming.
Okay, so my lord, my question to the witness, maybe if I can rephrase it, you've listed for us a series of police organizations that you train.
Yes.
My question is whether and if any, what training you also give, if at all you do, for an organization called the Scotland Yard. My lord, is that a leading question?
Very leading. Very leading.
My lord, a leading question is a question in which the answer is suggested. What is the answer? I'm asking what if any training
Any other
to Scotland Yard. I'm specific. I know no law that stops specificity. What if any training do you render to Scotland Yard?
Scotland Yard is the headquarters of the Metropolitan Police.
So you
So
registered.
yes, as part of the training, I have trained in Scotland Yard.
You're saying apart from police, are there any other organizations that you train on DNA?
I also lecture at universities. I'm an honorary lecturer at University College London, where I had to be nominated by the professor and evidence provided as to why I was able to lecture.
So, Ms. Lindley, what students do you lecture at University College London?
I lecture on 2 of their master's courses.
let me understand what nominated, what an
Honorary lecturer.
is.
So that means that the university, I'm of a level that they would accept as a permanent member of staff, as a lecturer. So I'm on their staff list and I have access to their systems, including all the scientific papers. So I'm seen an equivalent of a member of staff without actually being an employee.
So maybe. Okay, so maybe you can tell my lord very briefly why you teach master's students when you have a bachelor's degree.
The experience I have in the field is far more extensive than any master's course could provide. And it is my experience of cases within the criminal justice system that is being utilised to teach the students the limitations of DNA evidence in the context of cases.
Okay, I'll start winding up on that part. Have you done any DNA work outside of the UK?
Yes, so I'm used as a consultant for cases in New Zealand. I've also trained the Turkish army in blood pattern analysis and involved in the setting up of new DNA processing line in Oman.
If my lord, you can take a translation.
Abarage we mukyali anhingli owenyikiriza ey'aba protestant kandi aine ebihandiiko ebirungi muno kandi ebyahaiguru muno ebimuhaire obusobozi okuba ali mu nsi enu eya Uganda kandi atukubaza hati n'ebinkumu nabyo bamazire kandi babikoraho kandi bamaze n'okuba nibateeka mu bwokurorwaho omu kihandiiko ky'ebirundi omu katabo ke ak'okurubatiraho aina obukugu rundi atendekeibwe mu by'obumezi kandi aikaire nakora hali ebintu ebya okwekazaho kw'abafu okuruga omwaka 1947 kandi akatendekewa mu isomero rundi mu tendekero lya haiguru erya ensi za heru lyetwezere UK kandi omwaka 1997 aketeraniza ekitongole kino ekikora ebyokwekazaho kwabwe abafu mu nsi egyo eya heru eya London kandi yabwomu hali abakwijuza rundi abakusoroza hali ebintu ebyo omwaka 2008 akaruga akeyongerayo yatandika okwetegereza ebicweka ebiba ebikoleibwaho emisango kandi yeyongerayo yagenda mu kikalo ky'okukeberwamu ekya gavumenti eya London omwaka 2012 akagenda mu kitongole ekyomuntu buntu yaruga mu gavumenti kandi omwaka 2028 wena abantu abandi batandikaho ekitongole kyabo ekibesere Wellington. Obusomi obwo ekyokeberwamu ebyabantu kandi ngo kyakingwireho kandi kiina emirimo eri nyingi muno kibira ebintu biri bingi muno niko bahamirizibwa kuba nibakorayo ekintu ekihyaka ekikaba nikisobora kukebera gamba obucweka nka 10 hali ekikoorekya obuhangwa bw'omuntu kandi omwaka 2095 hano ensi ezindi zikaba nizyakozesa ekitandikiro enkora endi baitu nesana nkeyabo yokaba nibakozesa kandi tutegeere nti hariho ensi ezindi ezikozesa enkora ekusobora kuba netunula obucweka nka 17 hali obuhangwa bw'omuntu baitu ekyenyawukana kikiri kyamaani muno olwokuba bino byona bisigikira hali amagezi ga science kandi enkora ebali kuyo emu akozere ebintu bingi okuyaho ebyo ayegesa abapoliisi bebicweka bingi bingi omu nsoko za heru gamba nka ekyo orubuga olwa London kandi haliyo nekicweka ekindi bagiyita Gate Police haliyo ne polisi endi eri mu bicweka ebindi kino bakyeta Hampshire kandi akora nabo atendeka n'abasirikale abokwerinda asomesa n'okusomesa mu itendekero lya haiguru kandi hano hali abegesa rungi hali abakozi abamanyirwe kandi abaaho mu kicweka omwo. Kandi hano ensonga lwaki uwe akusomesa abantu bekilaasi zimuhindwireho ezihindwire okuteekebwe kiri habwokuba nti ayina okumanyirira kwingi muno mu bintu ebyakozere gamba bino ebyokwekaguzaho okufa kw'abantu abafiire biteetegerezeibwe kandi ali omuhala abakwekanikizaho mu bicweka bingi gamba nka ensi egyo eya New Zealand kandi n'okutendeka abasirikale mu nsi egyo eya Turkey ebintu ebyayizire n'aleeteranizamu.
So very briefly, could you tell my lord how you got involved in this case?
I was contacted by KAA, as I had been suggested by Professor Ruth Morgan of University College London, to aid in the review of DNA profiling results obtained in this case.
Just to be clear, K, what's K?
Kampala Associates and the other A.
That's right. So in your review, you write a report.
Yes, I did.
That report is shown to you. How could you identify it?
Every page is signed by myself.
My lord, I want to give the witness a copy of the report, a copy of the document, so you can identify it.
Share with you.
Yes.
I don't know what the answer to the answer. I don't know to the answer to what question. So Pablo, see? You can use it. Okay, do you have it with you?
This one?
Yes.
Yes, I've got a copy of mine as well.
Okay, so how can you confirm? Is that the document you signed?
Yes, this it is.
When did you sign it?
On the 17th of March, 2026.
Okay. Later on, the witness to just take us briefly through her report. I'm praying if we could just project it there as well. We have. Okay, maybe as he's coming. What material was given to you? What material was given to you to? What, if any, material was given to you?
Lord, she has not said any material.
Okay, much obliged. Were any materials given to you?
Yes. I received a report dated the 30th of April 2024.
What report was that?
This was of Department CBRNE with A, Analyst 8. This report,
CB what?
CBRNE-8A of Analyst 8.
When you say of analyst 8, what do you mean?
The document was signed as Analyst 8. I do not know their name.
And what was that report?
Sorry?
What was the title of that report?
I don't have the title. It was just a report. It was just termed a report.
So what was in that report?
So that report outlined the laboratory examinations and DNA profiling results relating to a number of items, which included swabs and clothing from both Henry Katanga and Molly Katanga, and equally blood swabs, a pistol and ammunition from the home address of Molly Katanga and Henry Katanga.
Okay. What else were you given?
I was provided with the statistical calculations which were carried out using the software Euro 4 Mix version 3.2.0.
The calculations were carried out using
It's Euro, EUROFORMIX version 3.2.0. I was also provided the crime scene examination report dated the 2nd of January 2024. A document titled DFS, confidential file, transit ladder of Directorate of Forensic Services Department of CBRNE-A.
Just the letters CBRN, are they capital letters?
Capitals, yes, CBRN capitals, lowercase e dash uppercase A.
And what did this document have?
This document contained the electropherograms, or EPGs, which are the graphs of the DNA profiles obtained from samples submitted in relation to this case. In addition, I was provided with a colour copy of Annex 2 DNA report .pdf, which was a table of the DNA components reportedly obtained from each of the samples examined, including the reference DNA profiles of the individuals nominated in relation to this case.
Are you given anything else?
The final document was a letter dated 21st of July 2023 of the Director General Health Services. This letter outlined the outcome of an inspection of the Uganda Police Force laboratory on the 21st of July 2023. And this confirmed the intent to getting international accreditation to ISO 17025, ISO 21043, and 45001 for laboratory testing, forensic science, and occupational health and safety respectively.
Okay. Very briefly.
Brief information in the documents provided, and that was at approximately 0900 hours on 2nd November 2023. Henry Katanga was found in the master bedroom at his home, deceased in a pool of blood with head injuries.
And you got that information from which document?
This was from the report dated the 30th of April 2024, Analyst 8.
Okay.
Mr. Katanga was subjected to a post-mortem examination, and cause of death was attributed to gunshot residue.
Attributed to what?
Gunshot injuries. No bullet fragments were detected during an examination of the head, suggesting that the bullet wounds observed by both ears comprise the entry and exit wound of a single bullet.
Okay, if you just tell us in just a sentence, any information you receive about Molly Katanga.
So I understand that Molly Katanga reported that prior to the incident, she had been involved in a domestic violence incident in which she sustained serious injuries, including a fractured left hand and right arm.
Okay. Now,
She was comatose for a number of days, and on recovery, it was alleged that she had fatally shot Henry Katanga, and she was charged with murder.
thank you. Now, very briefly, I want you to tell us about the purpose of your examination. What were you asked to do?
So the purpose of my examination was to review the scientific findings reported by Ugandan forensic scientists, specifically in relation to the pistol, item 4, and various ammunition recovered from the home address of Henry Katanga and Molly Katanga, with a view to evaluating the results in the context of the case circumstances.
Ms. Haley, you're talking about scientific findings. Were there specific scientific findings you were asked to specifically review, or all the scientific findings in the case?
In order to robustly evaluate the significance of a DNA result.
Maybe let me repeat my question. My question was, you said that you were asked to review the scientific findings.
Yes.
So there are a number of scientific findings
Yes.
on different things. Is there any specific scientific finding you were supposed to look into?
So I am a biologist by training.
Slow down. DNA from that individual doing what?
Transferred directly to an object, such as if that individual held that object.
No, I'm asking her to explain.
the blood contacts surface directly from that individual. The alternative,
Are there, before you go to the alternative, apart from holding and bleeding onto an object, are there other ways that DNA can directly go from an individual to an object?
in any scenario where a body fluid is transferred, so airbags in a car, where people often spit, the saliva passing onto that airbag is as a result of a direct transfer. Equally, if someone is shouting, their DNA will move onto the surface without the need of any other vector. So it's directly from that individual.
So if someone is screaming, for example,
Yes, that provides an opportunity for saliva to be available, to be deposited in the area where that individual is.
and that is direct. So what about, would I, are there other methods of direct transfer that you can think of?
In any mechanism where it is from that individual onto a surface or another individual without the need for a second person or surface is direct. It has come directly from that individual.
Maybe let me put my question like this. If I don't touch an object, can I directly transfer DNA on it?
Yes, you can. The example used, if you're bleeding profusely and your blood becomes airborne and that blood then lands onto a surface or an item, that is still directly from that individual.
And that's also true for screaming.
Yes, again, that would allow for saliva to be transferred in an airborne liquid, which again can just land on the surface directly from that individual.
Okay, then you told us there's another method of transfer. Could you tell the court what that is?
So, if the DNA was not transferred directly, the alternative is indirectly. It has needed an intermediary to transfer that DNA onto the surface.
Okay. Explain, give us, make it clearer for us.
The first, in effect, we have different levels, different steps of indirect transfer. The first step is secondary, where there is one step between the individual and their DNA transferring. So, for example, if two individuals shake hands, individual A's DNA passes onto individual B's hand, that's direct, and individual B then makes contact with an item.
Maybe let's use the example of a firearm. Okay, an item?
Yeah, just generalised secondary transfer, and then individual B touches an item, transferring individual A's DNA when they've never actually touched the item.
Okay. That is called secondary.
That's secondary. With the evolution of the sensitivity of the DNA profiling process, we've now found that tertiary transfer is a possibility. This then brings in 2 steps of transfer before being deposited on the final item or surface. And again, it means that the original individual's DNA can be found on an item that they had no contact with at all.
Okay. Okay, so what about the time? Is it possible? How can we tell how long DNA has lasted in an item?
It is not possible. It is believed that unless disturbed or subject to the elements, extreme heat or damp, it is believed that DNA will persist indefinitely.
Why is that a belief?
DNA profiling has only been routinely in place since the 1990s, and hence, realistically, we're dealing with a relatively short time frame of knowledge. However, we are routinely going back to cases from the 1980s and obtaining good DNA profiles from the exhibits retained.
Okay, so maybe let me ask it like this. Once we find a DNA profile on an item, how can we know how that DNA went into the item?
In the context of DNA, cellular DNA, it is not possible.
You've also told us about direct and indirect transfer. When we find DNA on an item in the context of DNA, how can we know who put that DNA on the item?
It is not possible.
How can we know, again in the context of DNA, when DNA was deposited on an item?
Again, it's not scientifically possible.
And then, again within the context of DNA, can we at least know, or how can we know the order in which different DNA profiles were deposited in an item?
Again, not scientifically possible to do that.
I've come across terms, and we shall define them later, but I've come across terms that there are some, on an item where there's more than one person,
Yes.
there are some DNA profiles that are major
Yes.
and some that are minor.
Yes.
Can you explain to my lord, does being a major at least suggest that you handle the object or handle it? What does it suggest, being a major and being a minor? What inference can we draw from that?
In the absence of any body fluid, the strength of the DNA does not help in addressing the order that that DNA was deposited, and therefore the strength of the DNA cannot help to address the order the DNA was deposited, and therefore who deposited their DNA last. It's a misunderstanding that the strongest profile will be the last person to contact.
But why is that? It's a misunderstanding. But why is that? Because if it's the strongest, so why would that be the case?
We know that people shed their DNA at different levels, and therefore, if you have someone who sheds their DNA very poorly, and someone that sheds their DNA very happily, the expected levels of DNA on an item
So you say that if there is someone who sheds their DNA
very poorly, and someone who sheds their DNA very readily, the proportions of DNA on an item merely reflect how well an individual sheds their DNA, but the level provides no information as to the order.
What about as to the activity?
Again, it's not possible from the DNA profiling result to determine the activity or the mechanism of transfer.
Just so that I haven't lost you, briefly explain what shedding of DNA is.
As humans, every activity, we are losing cells from our body. Every contact we make, cells are lost. If someone is very, very hygienic and constantly washes their hands, then the availability of cells that shed is going to be far lower than those that don't. So it's a natural phenomenon. Everywhere you walk, you are shedding DNA cells. And if you think of your home, the dust in your home is predominantly made up of your shed skin cells.
In the context of the DNA report that you reviewed, can you confirm to my lord, if we are able from that report, how, maybe let me ask it like this, can you confirm how that report helps to answer those questions? Who deposited the DNA, when it was deposited, how it was deposited, in what order it was deposited?
The DNA report is merely a factual report of the nature of the DNA profiles obtained. There was no formal evaluation as to what those DNA profiles meant in the context of this case.
So, if you could just put that for us in much simpler terms and slower, just because you're saying that there was no fuller evaluation. If when I read this report, what does it tell me about who handled the gun?
It doesn't tell you anything about who handled the gun.
If I want to know who handled the gun, what should I look for?
In order to make an evaluation such as that, you need all the information from the scene, where it was recovered from, how it was recovered, how it was examined in the laboratory. Then you can start to begin to make evaluations as to the significance of the DNA profiling results.
Okay. And if I want evidence of handling of the gun, what kind of evidence do I look for?
The DNA could never answer who handled the gun. DNA does not show contact. The only evidence that could show contact would be fingerprints.
And then we can take a translation.
ekindi ikaba ebaruha okuvuga hali omukulu omwezi wa security ya polisi enyuzibwemu kandi nebazaho omurayira ebyarugire omukebera okwakoleirwe ekitongole kya Uganda Police kandi nesaba okusobola okutunga okwekaguzaho okukizireho hali ebyo ebyo batundire kandi nekindi omubugufu kikaba ebyokwezi 2013 omwaka 2023 ekikaba nikoleka nti Henry akasangibwa omukaye abyamire omumusaayi omwingi muno kandi afiire bakamukebera basanga nti ebyamwisire bikaba bikooya ebya amasasi kandi nti mwele Katanga hanyumaho akaba agambire rundi anyegereire nti akaba nobutaranirwa mu maka kandi nawe yafuna ebibutabire amagufa agamu gashweka kandi getalibanizibwa muno omubongo kyonka hanyuma yagambibwa nti akaita Henry owe omulimo gwe hano gukaba okwetegereza ebyarugire mu kukaguliriza rundi okuseruriza okwa Uganda Police kandi nkokwali bwebyobwomezi kukira muno akaba ayina kwetegereza rundi okamu kwetegereza ebikaba birugire kukebera obuhangwa bw'omuntu kandi kuno kukebera kw'obuhangwa bw'omuntu bina ebintu bingi hariho nka okuba okyeteranizeho rundi okuba okyeteranizeho otali okuba okyeteranizeho okuraba omuntu ondi rundi okuraba ekintu ekindi akusangwa rundi omuntu abe nekikaba hali akucokera ekyo kiri kintu kyangu muno kubanga ebyo ntabisobola kusobora maisiko mukicweka ekyo nibasobola kukebera nibamanya nti oka abaireho rundi akusanga omuntu aba ajwerire omusaayi mukicweka ekyo kandi nabwo kusobola kuba nikikolebwa okuruga hali omuntu ondi weena